The fear of curse. Once upon a time, a wise young boy grew up believing a great fortune lay ahead of him. And though his mother always cautioned him not to be a fool, he at last decided it was time to set off on his adventure in search of his fortune. He asked his friend to come along because his friends owned 2 horses and a sleigh. "We'll see the world," the boy said, and though his friend was shy and frightened, he finally agreed. And so, just before spring, when the land was still blanketed in snow, they set off. There was snow everywhere, and as they traveled past villages, into valleys and up mountains and over frozen streams, a huge storm blew in. "We'll freeze if we stay out here all night." Both worried, but just then they arrived at an inn. "We'll stay here," the boy said, and after tying up the horses, he strode boldly inside. They sat before a roaring fire, warming their toes. His friend whispered, "How will we pay for our stay?" "Don't worry," the boy said. Just then, a stranger appeared before them and said, "Allow me to pay your way. I have been searching for some brave men to perform a service for the emperor." "We're your brave men's," the boy said. "We can do anything." "Anything means anything and everything," the friend said, nervously, and so that night the stranger paid their way. The next morning, they set off, following the stranger's carriage. They all rode for days, and the stranger bought them many feasts and paid for the finest lodgings. The boy could not have been happier than ever. But his friend was scared and worried. The boy said to his friend, "Bro, never fear, when I am near." Quote, At last, they reached the emperor's court, and the emperor told them of their task. "Across the river there is a palace that belongs to my kingdom," he explained. "My princess, however, lost it in a gamble, and the brutal beast who won it refuses to give it back. If you retrieve the palace from this beast, I shall reward you with a bounty." "Done deal," the boy said, and that very afternoon, they set off across the frozen river. When they finally reached the palace, an enormous huge man answered the door and roared, "What do you want?" The friend shivered, but the young boy just grinned. "Please, invite us in and give us something warm to drink," the boy said. The huge man could see the boy had a winning way, so he invited them inside. As they were warming themselves by the fire, the boy's friend suddenly blurted out, "You don't seem like a beast." "Who calls me a beast?" their host bellowed. "My friend means only that people who own such palaces are often greedy and cruel, and the people who are not aware often call them a beast," the boy cut in. Their host began to laugh. "I won this in a gamble from the princess," he said. "Let me show you around." As he led them through enormous hallways, into rooms as large as their village, they kept staring at the fellow, to be certain that he recognized him. Finally the boy asked, "Do you mind telling us who you are?" "I'm the emperor's cousin, the famous musician," said the host. "That is what I am famous for and has always been." The boy smiled at his host and said warmly, "I know you. I once heard you play your fiddle at a fair. You were brilliant. I am sad to see and to tell you that you have lost everything that you owned." "Lost everything?" the host said. I own this palace." The boy frowned and said, "You have been fooled into believing you have won, but you have become a prisoner and a guard of this place." "What are you talking about?" the host asked curiously, his face growing pale. "You were a leader and a king of your talent," the boy said, "a powerful musician, but now you are stuck in this prison, trapped guarding mere things. Once you lived under the stars, playing beautiful melodious music like a man of joy and freedom." The host took his fiddle from its hiding place and began to play. "You see, I am still a genius musician," he cried. But as music filled the great room, the boy winked at his friend and whispered, "I am the genius too." When the host finished playing, he bowed to the guest. "Thank you so much for reminding me of what happiness really is," he said. And with that, he packed up his belongings and left the palace, handing the palace keys to the young boy. Taking the keys in hand, both the friends rode their sleigh back across the frozen river. By the time they reached the emperor's court, word of the brute's departure had spread. The crowd outside the court began to cheer. "You saved the palace," people cried. The emperor appeared. "I promised you a bounty," he said to the young boy. "You will forever now be known as the King of the Beast." The crowd began to laugh. His friend nearly wept and whispered, "He has tricked us. We are fools." But the young boy grinned and bowed to the emperor. "Thank you, sir. Now, as you know, I am a king of the beast and you have insulted me. Thus I am forced to put a curse upon you and all the court. I'm afraid it shall have to be a terrible curse." The crowd gasped. The emperor roared to his servants, "Do something to stop the curse." Just then the princess said to her father, "Don't be so rude and cruel. These boys have got the palace back to you and in turn you gave them a notorious title. This is so unfair. Father, you have to reward this young man or I will have to marry him, because I can't stay in a cursed kingdom." But the young boy shrugged. "There is nothing I can do to remove the curse unless we receive a reward." "What do you wish?" asked the emperor. "We will accept a bag of gold," the boy said. "And as per the princess, I will marry her, then I can remove the curse." And so the young men were each given a huge sack of gold. The princess got married to the young boy, and with their sack on their back, they started off for home. As they were traveling, his friend asked curiously, "What was the curse?" The young boy just grinned. "I know no curses," he said, "but it is not curses that hurt people, it is only the thought, and the fear of curses that does." And when the boy reached home, his mother met him at the door, and he grinned and said, "Let me tell you the story of the fear of curse." If you like the story, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening.